What is up, YouTube? Welcome to PanFro Games. In today's video, we're talking about more cut Pokemon from Generation 7, Pokemon Z, and potential, relations from Z to Legend ZA with what Zygarde forms we might see. And of course, guys, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I really appreciate it. Consider supporting the channel by joining the Pan Fan by hitting that join channel member button below. So diving right into it, we're going to talk about the scrapped Alolan forms. So there was an Alolan Rhyhorn line, which definitely got replaced for the Alolan Geodude line. It's both of them are electric rock, so you can see it was either get the Golem or get the Rhyperior. Not gonna lie, I think the Rhyperior line would have been way cooler for that, but it is what it is. We got the Golem, but I would have much rather had Rhyperior. And then Seal and Dugong were supposed to become Water and Fairy. The reason for this being cut is very obvious. We got Primarina, so the starter ended up being Water and Fairy, and this is also another Seal type Pokemon, so it makes sense to remove the other Seal type. Doesn't really make any sense to have another Seal with the exact same typing, so that was scrap. But I do hope Seal and Dugong get something in the future. Bug Fairy Scyther is rather interesting because that would have been like an Orchid Mantis, which would have been really beautiful, but instead we got Lurantis. So they actually made a whole new Pokemon. It doesn't have the bug typing, it's a monograss, but I do like Lurantis as a cool looking Pokemon. So, and it's not like Scyther didn't get anything in the future. We did get Cleaver, so hey, Scyther did at least get something in the future. And the last one, which I actually really wish we would get, and maybe in the future one day, Alolan Snorlax is a fighting type Pokemon, and I imagine it being like a Samoan type of like wrestler or something like that. Like an Islander who's like, a big bulky Islander type of dude who's fighting. That would have been really sweet. Unfortunately, that was cut, but I would love to see that in the future. Some other cut Pokemon from Generation 7. We were actually supposed to get Turtonator pre-evolutions. 2 of them, in fact. So Turtonator was a 3-stage Pokemon originally. We don't know what they would have been like, but seems they would have been similar fire turtles, and maybe eventually get that dragon typing towards the end of it, which would have been pretty cool. There was apparently a cut chicken Pokemon that was 2 stages as well, but no chickens on the island supposedly. And there was another cut 2-stage Pokemon as well, but we don't really know too much about it. So there was a couple of cut Pokemon, but they didn't make it like any sprites or anything for that. So unfortunately, nothing too good to look at there. But we do get some beta images. We get Beta Wishy-Washy, which is pretty cool looking. I actually really like Beta Wishy-Washy, but it doesn't look too different from the original. But I think this is a pretty decent image at it as well. And they also had a lot of scrapped battle ideas. And this is actually a relatively long list of changes they wanted to make. But, poison status, target poison twice turns is badly poisoned. So, poison would be interesting. You can like stack your poison. Dark types immune to intimidate. There was a move that did double damage against dragon types. Like, there was just like a lot of things. Like draining moves would actually hurt the attacker if it was used against a poison type as well. Will-O-Wisp can't hit ghost types. Dark Void can't hit ghost types. There's a move that changes Pokemon to fairy types. Sticky Web works on flying types and Pokemon that have levitate. Gravity. Priority moves no longer move first under gravity. Ice Wind move does and reduce speed of ice type Pokemon. So a lot of like very like mechanical type specific type of moves. But yeah, it was honestly very interesting that they really wanted to change up a lot of the battle system for Pokemon Sun and Moon. Now, leaving Sun and Moon for a second, going back to Generation 5, we get the early versions of the Therian forms of the genies, and I think the Thundurus actually looks pretty swell. I think it looks really cool, so I'm definitely a fan of that. I don't like early Landorus that much, or early Tornadus is all right, but I think it looks better with its wings out. It's hard to compare the two. Now, something really interesting, we actually have the truth between what's the difference between a legendary and what's the difference between a mythical. So internally, Game Freak says a legendary Pokemon is a Pokemon that only appears once in the game and cannot lay eggs, while a mythical Pokemon, aka a Phantom, what they say internally, is a Pokemon that cannot be normally encountered in the game. There are some exceptions like Deoxys and Oris. It's still considered a mythical Pokemon. Volcarona is a Pokemon that does not qualify as a legendary because they lay eggs, as an example as well. So you can go through this whole list and you can see like what they consider to be a legendary, and they say illusion for mythical, right? So like Mew would be one. But what was really interesting, because everything is what you think it is, and also Ultra Beast Yes, Ultra Beasts are Ultra Beasts. They're their own category. They're not legendary. They're not mythical. They are Ultra Beasts. That is 100% confirmed. But Phenone is a quasi-mythical. Don't make it public, though. Well, too late. It's here. Don't make that information public, though. Do not publicly call it a semi-mythical Pokemon. Also, since it's a very confusing Pokemon, it is better not to mention it or state it too clearly. Once again, Phenone is a mistake. Game Freak wishes they did not make this thing. They're like, we don't even know what to do with this thing. It just has to exist, unfortunately. They really didn't want it, though, so I think that's pretty awesome news. We actually get classification of Pokemon monster size and shape. So pretty interesting just to see how they look at the monsters when they design them and how they classify them from the early conceptual phase. I thought it was just a pretty interesting image to look at here. But the big thing I want to talk about here was the Pokemon Z. Pokemon Z was supposed to be a real game. It was actually supposed to be 2 games, right? And a sequel to Pokemon X and Y. So it would have been like Pokemon XZ, Pokemon YZ, something like that, right? And then Zygarde was actually supposed to have 2 forms depending on which version you actually got, which maybe in Pokemon Legends ZA, we will get some sort of 2 forms of Zygarde, maybe depending on a legendary we encounter, whether it's Yveltal or Xerneas. So Pokemon Z. Pokemon Z are monitors Pokemon X and Y who control the life energy of the Kalos region. It appears when the balance between X and Y Pokemon is disrupted, creating a distortion in the world, and fights either Pokemon X or Pokemon Y to restore balance. Since it is a swarm, the way its individuals connect causes its body shape to change significantly. It changes into forms advantage for battling each of the Pokemon X and Y. So there is a Z form, and roughly half the size compared to VSX and VSY forms, has inferior abilities. All right, and then we have the evolution of the Z form, and we have 3 forms actually. VSX form looks like a large wolf or a predator, acts as a hunter to X. So essentially what we got on some of these other forms, they ended up being cut and then turned into what the Zygarde forms we know. So we can see the dog Zygarde form that we have here was actually supposed to be a big wolf that would hunt Xerneas. And then when we look at the Y one, it was a humanoid, uses an anti-aircraft gun-like techniques to hunt down Y. So that's why 100% is sort of like a big mech, and he has like sort of like these big like energy blast moves. Essentially, that was to shoot down Yveltal, which is pretty interesting. And then there's an individual form. It spreads throughout the Kalos region, monitoring Pokemon X and Pokemon Y in the state of the region. Appears in the battle screen, does not participate in battle. So supposedly there is a final form that we never really would have seen, or we don't know what it looks like, but maybe this is the form we'll see in Pokemon Legends ZA as a plot point. That would be really interesting, you know, once it reaches that 100% true form, and then we actually have to go and defeat the Zygarde to save the region. I don't know. I think this is very interesting though, because I think some of these scrapped ideas will turn into some real used ideas in Pokemon Legends ZA. But let me know in the comment section below how you feel about that. I am very interested. And of course, guys, let me know what Pokemon you wish would get a new form. I really think these Alolan forms are super interesting. Personally, I think the Snorlax would have been really cool. But if there's any Pokemon you want to see get a new form in Pokemon Legends ZA, please let me know in the comment section below. Anyways, guys, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I really appreciate it. Catch you guys next time. Peace out, and have a good one.